Yes.
Okay. All right, Todd, thanks very much. All right, good morning, everybody. Yeah, we have continuing interviews here in Indiana in the morning, and we're going to celebrate some things, including 1977. It's hard to believe it was 40 years ago that Homer Center won in the Appalachian Championship, and they came away with a victory and went undefeated. We have Ron Kolman, the coach of Homer Center in 1977, with his wonderful T-shirt there. 40-year legend. I love it. Coach, welcome aboard.
Thanks, Jack. It's nice to be here.
This is like old times. And Greg Page, the current coach. Good to have Coach with us today. I'm glad that he brought a T-shirt for you.
I'm glad Coach Kolman got the right size for me. Good to be here with everybody.
All right. Well, let's think back to 1977. Ron, that was a very special year, a very special time. And tell us what this celebration is all about coming up this certain time, this weekend and all. Well, actually, it's going to be next weekend, right?
It is indeed October 6th, Friday night, at the Memorial Field. And we are certainly honored to be here, Jack. Words really don't express how appreciative myself and some of the players that I've managed to talk to in the last few weeks are that the school district is sponsoring this event, and we're really looking forward to it.
Who came up with the idea?
I would have to tell you it was this gentleman standing to my right, Mr. Page.
Well,
tell me about it.
Well, that's not completely true. We started through the efforts of Mr. Burdig and Dr. Korn, our superintendent, and then of course Mr. Rainey, our principal. Kind of all came together, and then I was on board as far as 2012 when we decided we were going to honor a team that would have been in a 5 or 10 year increment from the time frame. For instance, our first team that we honored was the 1962 team in 2012. So I think that would have been 50 years at that point. So it kind of, I know they had done that in the past sporadically, but we just decided, and again, that was Dr. Korn's first year, I believe, and so it kind of was a brainchild between him and Mark and Jody. To echo Coach's thoughts, it's just, it gets us excited every year. It's a great event.
Yeah, it's a great thing to have for the school and for those former players. Tell me about 1977. This was a team that went 9-0, beat Shade in the Appalachian Championship. I was privileged to broadcast that game, as a matter of fact, 4 years ago. But that has special remembrances for you, I know, Ron.
Oh, it absolutely it does. And of course, over the last few weeks, the more I've talked about it, the more those memories come back, as you can imagine. One of the unique things that happened to us in '77 that really didn't seem to happen, no matter how good we were in prior years or post years, was we had some support from the community, the school district, the student body, the band, the cheerleaders. The senior class was exceptional. It was really hard to describe, and it was really an amazing thing to see because we weren't used to it. One of the things I was delighted that just kept reoccurring, and it seemed to be spontaneous, is often for the away games when we'd come back in the buses, and of course, understandably, this was quite a bit of time after the game was actually concluded, there would be people in the parking lots waiting for us. The band, the cheerleaders, students, it was crazy. But the support from the community, every game, was just phenomenal. And those were some of my biggest memories because it was something that we never saw before, and to be quite honest, I never saw again. It was just a special time and a special year. And we had a special group of players as well, and that made it all work, and you just said it, and we ended up in the Appalachian Conference Championship.
And you played beat Shade to go undefeated 9-0. Now, you only played 9 games. Interesting story why that came to be. Tell me.
It's really hard to do this in just a couple sentences, but I think if anyone was around in those years with me and members of the team, you'll remember this. In '77, it was quite an upsetting summer because there was some massive flooding that occurred not only in Homer City, but in Johnstown and in the Johnstown area. And it was pretty tragic. A lot of damage, a lot of property damage, people displaced from homes, on and on and on. And of course, Johnstown, the community of Johnstown, be especially sensitive to flooding and disasters as such. We were scheduled this time of year, in fact, I think it was this week, we were scheduled to play Conemaugh Valley on our schedule. It had begun raining on about Tuesday of the week we were supposed to travel on Saturday to play them. It rained all week. It was kind of a light rain, but it increased heavily on Friday, and by Friday night, it was a problem. I know there were a lot of people in the area who were a little bit frightened because it hadn't stopped raining. The streams and whatnot were on the rise. Saturday morning, we're packing to go to the game. The rain had eased up. We're in the high school office with my athletic director, Bill Staphen, and Conemaugh Valley's on the phone. They want to postpone the game to Monday. Well, unfortunately, we have Blairsville coming up on Friday, and I was never a big proponent of that Monday and Friday, especially with high school kids. I thought it was a little bit dangerous, to be quite honest. So we had talked about it, gone round and round, and finally their coach gets on the phone from the other end and says, "Coach, we don't know what to do." And I said, "Well, you could come here and play. I think maybe our field by mid-afternoon, because the rain's letting up, might be playable." He said, "Coach, you don't understand. I don't know if we can get any players." I was speechless. "What do you mean? People won't let their kids out of the house." And I went, "Oh, we're dealing with something I've never heard of before." And I was just stunned. And I know I stopped talking for a couple minutes, and I just looked at Bill, and he kind of picked up the phone and went from there. And so finally the coach gets back on. He said, "Hey, we'll just forfeit the game. I know where you are. We know you have Blairsville coming up. We'll just give you the win." I said, "If there's a win to be had, we'll get it on the field. I can't accept that." So I said to him, "We're postponing the game." He said, "Till when?" I said, "Well, if we lose playing Blairsville, we're not going to have a 10th date. We'll play then." So that game was postponed 40 years ago, and it's still postponed as far as I know. But the funny part, of course, is that win actually, had we won in the field, of course, would have given us the 10th win, and that would have been, as you probably well know, the school record for wins without a loss.
Interesting story. Coach Page, how do you relate your current players with teams like this from '77, from the past?
In my opinion, and I've said this many times before to you guys on the radio, the newspaper, and especially to our guys, it's all about the community and what the Homer Center spirit is all about. I mean, it's just something that's, playing where we play in the middle of town, it just kind of grabs you a certain way. And I always tell our guys, I said, this is a special place to play, and it's because of teams like this from the past. You go back even further with Coach Fenella, Coach Kolman. I've heard stories over the last 10 and a half years about how hard and tough Coach Kolman was, and then we feel like cream puffs now based on how they did things. But it's that kind of respect and reverence for those teams that I tell our guys, I said, this is what our place is all about. It's a special place, and you have to embrace that. Every year that we've done this, since 2012, it's been a special week, and we bring them in on Thursday nights too for team dinner to get to know the guys, and then of course Friday night prior to the game is very special too. It's just, I think that's the one word that sums it all up, is the tradition.
Nothing like tradition. Nothing like tradition in sports. Boy, names like Ken Jones, Pete Cuda, Tom Deptola, Randy Madej, Ron Jones, Jamie Stanish. I just have a few of them that Coach Burdick sent on to me, but I remember these guys like it was yesterday. And you've had good response, right, Ron?
Oh, we've had a tremendous response. I just told Coach Page that I think we're somewhere around 90 to 95% of the players are going to be in attendance, and a handful of them who weren't called me and went into detail about why they had other obligations. One of the stars of that team, in fact, I was just telling Coach Page, one of the stars, Brian Wargo, called and said, "Coach, I don't know if I can make it." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, we got another obligation, and my wife won't let me come." And I said, "Brian, what would keep you away?" He said, "Well, my daughter's getting married that weekend." I said, "Well, that one might be legit."
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, this is great for all of us. And Coach Page, Coach Kolman was one of my original coaches on Coach's Corner, and we were reminiscing a little bit here because that was his first year, 1969, and we both got thrown into this thing a couple of weeks before the season started. It was fun.
I want to add in, I was born in 1969, so I don't know how old that makes you guys.
Jack, that might have been a mistake bringing that one up.
No, well, listen, Todd's still keeping that thing on the air after this is the 49th year or so. I'd say it's been really successful. Todd, I guess I got to wrap it up now. Well, I'll get a couple of minutes yet. How about anything else come to mind, Coach Coleman here? what a great thing to get everybody together. Maybe remind people when this is all coming about.
Again, Friday, October 6th, right before the game is our 77 team introductions. And then we're going to turn it over to Coach Page, and they'll be playing Ligonier that night. Should be an exciting time. I hope there's a lot of folks out there that hear this and are planning on attending the game. So far, we've got a lot of good feedback from the community. Seems to me that there's quite a bit of interest locally, not only in our team, in the 77 team, but of course in the present day team, the 217 team. And I wish them all the best of luck. And Coach Page, you better go get them.
There's your pressure, Coach.
Well, what we did to set it up, and I know Coach appreciated having a set schedule, is we typically have a pregame meal Thursday after our walkthrough. This year, next Thursday is a little different. We have parent-teacher conferences, so we're going to practice a little later under the lights at the stadium, and we invited the 77 team to come down and informally watch practice and kind of, catch up there, and then we're going to go back up to the school for some pizza and have some social time with our kids and their kids, and then Friday they'll come a little bit early in the parking lot and kind of get together and quote tailgate, if you will, and then probably one of the more special things, and I know Coach remembers this too, is the walk down what we now call Wildcat Alley with the current team as we walk down to the stadium. Sure enough, we have a tall task. We're playing Ligonier Valley that night. And I think there will be, as Coach alluded to with the crowd, I think there will be a good crowd to begin with.
Oh, that's no
And
question.
I hope so. And I think then, added to that, all of these people will get to see a tremendous football team and guys that are just probably shooting themselves back in time 40 years, and I think that's the biggest thing of all of it.
No question about it. There'll be people. Get your reservations now, folks, because that'll be some kind of night. Ron, thanks very much. Coach Kolman coming in here. It's been great reminiscing with you guys and with Greg. You're going to get a tremendous season going now. 1977 for you was a special time, and that says it all, that T-shirt. 40-year legend.
Thanks, Jack. It's really an honor to be here after 40 years, and words really don't express our gratitude to Coach Page and his staff for everything they've done so far. I'm just hoping it's going to be a great night for all the Wildcats, the 77 Cats, the 17 Cats, and everybody that's at the game.
Ron Kolman, Greg Page, thank you guys. Appreciate it. I think maybe I can come down on Thursday night if you'll let me in, all right?
We sure will.
Okay, thanks. All right, Jack, thanks, and thanks to Coach Page.